Some people think that scans are ADA compliance checkers. There's even a defense attorney who bundles scans together and then sells them to clients as an audit. Let's go over why scans are only the start of reducing your risk of being sued. So we're on a Reddit thread. I'm going to read through a very revealing comment. This really sucks because I am both an accessibility tester and used to work for a plaintiff's attorney. And then she continues on, no one tells folks the accessibility overlays are not worth a flying flip. The best way to test is to do a manual test. As a manual tester, I test keyboard first in all caps. As a screen reader user is likely not going to use a mouse, a user should be able to use keyboard 100% of the time. And then the comment continues on. This is extremely revealing. This person used to work for a plaintiff's attorney. So right there, what does that tell you? That tells you that plaintiffs' law firms are recruiting accessibility professionals to look through your website and find accessibility issues. Do you think these professionals have been recruited to run scans? No, no. Plaintiffs' law firms can do that on their own. And in fact, in years past, that is what they would do. Primarily, plaintiffs' law firms were relying upon scans to come up with accessibility issues to claim against website owners. But now the game has evolved. And so plaintiffs' lawyers have upped their game to include accessibility professionals. So that is why some of the claims now are much more lucid and much more specific and much more clear. It comes across like an accessibility professional wrote the claim, and that's because in many cases they have. Also, I myself have been recruited by a plaintiff's law firm. So this isn't abnormal. Plaintiffs' law firms have people who are looking through your website and they are going through your website manually, going beyond a scan. So she writes, I used to work for a plaintiff's attorney, and the best way to test is to do a manual test. As a manual tester, I test keyboard first. So note that manual test, keyboard is the first thing that she keys in on. Guess what scans do not flag? Keyboard navigability. So this is a very, very revealing comment. And as a website owner, it should signal that scans are only the start. Yes, they are very helpful. They do help reduce your risk, but they are not the end of it. So you can't just think of a scan as an ADA compliance checker and just look for Wave or Google Lighthouse, or maybe if you're getting even more detailed, Axe or Power Mapper. It's not as simple as having 0 issues on a scan. It goes much further beyond this. And there are still so many people who don't know this. There are a lot of people, even though it's coming out now that accessibility overlays do not work. That's becoming more and more common knowledge. We see that being talked about. People are realizing, these widgets don't work at all. And that's what this person says here. This is someone who worked for a plaintiff's law firm. No one tells folks the accessibility overlays are quote unquote not worth a flying flip. So that's becoming more and more common knowledge. And now we've got to work through this next wave where more people start to realize that scans are only the start. And because so many digital accessibility companies give this false impression that scans do more than they do. And then some people just don't look any further than the scan and think that, Google Lighthouse is where, I just need a 100% score on Google Lighthouse. I have a video where I was going through Shopify experts that were talking about ADA compliance, and they were focused in on Google Lighthouse. Google Lighthouse is Google Lighthouse is just, it would be nice if you're 100 out of 100, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning. So that was my point here. That's the point I wanted to make, is because so many website owners still don't know that these very basic things when it comes to reducing risk of lawsuit. I recommend, I have an ADA compliance course. It's going to take you through the most commonly claimed issues. So the issues that come up with the most frequency, it's going to take you through these issues and then tell you how to find and fix these different issues that are most likely to lead to a lawsuit. So the nice thing is, as you work through the lessons, you're going to reduce your risk of being sued because you're going to have less and less of the accessibility issues that plaintiffs' law firms look for and claim over and over again. And so the number one issue is missing alternative text or issues related to alternative text. But what gets tricky is scans don't always flag all of the accessibility issues related to alternative text, even though alternative text and missing alt attributes, really it's missing alt attributes, is one thing that they do detect, but it goes beyond that. So you have to understand that accessibility is more detailed, and that's why scans are only a start. They are helpful, they're a start, but they're only a start. And so going back to my point, alternative text and issues related to alternative text, the number one most commonly claimed accessibility issue in lawsuits. Also, as this person was getting at, keyboard navigability. Another very much claimed accessibility issue. I forget. I just reordered my course, and I think I know it's in the top 5. It might be in the top 3. But keyboard navigability issues also extremely important. And then my course goes through all of the 15 most commonly claimed issues and the exact order in which I would remediate each of them. So that way you know what to focus in on, so that you're reducing your risk as you're improving your accessibility. So the point of this video is that scans are only a start. They're nice, but you need to go well beyond scans. And this comment, which I will link to this Reddit thread in the description, but this comment exemplifies why scans are only a start. This person worked for a plaintiff's law firm, and they're telling you they start with a manual test. And where do they look first when they're testing manually? With keyboard. I will include links in the description.